Please don't forget, guys, like, share, subscribe, hit that bell. You know it makes sense. Come on, you Irons.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening and good night. Whatever time of day it is, wherever you're watching this around the world, welcome to Falls from Iron and welcome to another edition of Opposition Recon. I'm Gatesy, your host, but you guys know that already, but you might not know who that gentleman is. So please, Scott, please introduce yourself to the millions watching around the world.
Yeah, so I'm Scott, run a channel with my mate James called Sweet&Sour Soccer. So basically we are Wolves fans, both of us. And we tend to do a Wolves watch along each week and also reacting to the match. But the majority of our channel is pretty much general content. So hopefully there's something for everyone. We actually did a video not too long ago bigging up David Moyes as well, which West Ham fans might enjoy. So I'll push them in that direction.
And I will do likewise by putting that banner up, guys. Please don't. This will be in the description below YouTube and Facebook. Please pop over to Sweet&Sour Soccer on YouTube, and you can also follow the guys on Twitter and Instagram if they are your cup of Tetley. If you're a little bit old and decrepit like me, you know, a lot of these things might be beyond you. I mean, I've actually recently got a TikTok account. Would you believe my daughter's got me insisted I must get a TikTok account for Forge. So yeah.
Yeah, I started one for the channel as well, but I can't say I get it myself on a personal level. But so yeah, I'm the exact same. I'm in the exact same boat. Don't really get too much TikTok, but yeah.
But please, guys, pop over there onto the various platforms and give them your support. And okay, so let's get down to it then, Scott. So it's the usual format, but obviously a different set of answers I'm sure you'll give to the various questions along the way. So first question I've got for you is, what were your thoughts when the summer transfer business was complete at Molineux, and what have been your thoughts beyond that to the season up to this point?
I mean, it was an interesting summer for us in general because obviously we got Bruno Lage that came in, a new manager, and one of the first things he alluded to was playing a back four. Of course, we've ended up with a back five still, which, you know, I think that describes the summer transfer business perfectly. What we've brought in, a lot of it has been loans with options to buy. We've been pretty crippled by financial fair play. One of the interesting things was, you know, I think a lot of fans will remember the fact that we actually got European football in our first season of coming up to the Prem. Well, it's actually what's crippled us, to be honest, because what's happened now is we've entered this harsher UEFA financial fair play, and it's really restricted what we can spend. So thankful we kept Neves. Very thankful that Jimenez is back and starting to play back to his best. But there wasn't a lot of summer transfer business, to be honest. And the late addition of Hwang is also looking a good one. The season so far is an interesting one. It's been a bit of a mixed bag. Interestingly, we actually started the season playing very good football, but getting no points for it. We've actually started doing the complete opposite now, apart from our result against Crystal Palace before the international break. But to be honest, we've not been playing as well as we have been in the start of the season, but now we're starting to pick up points. So it's been a bit of a mixed bag, and I think that reflects where we are in the table too.
Had Nuno pretty much run his course as far as you were concerned? And following on from that, obviously the new guy that's followed him in, Bruno Lage, I mean, is he sort of like stylistically quite different from what you've seen in the first 11 games of the Premier League to Nuno?
Yeah, I mean, Nuno himself, an absolute legend of a guy. You know, as a person, can't speak a bad word about him. But you know, I have to be honest, I was probably one of the first that kind of felt his time was up. The other person I run the channel with, James, was very against his sacking. And I think that was a mixed bag, and I think it still is. There's a bit of a shadow still at times when it comes to Nuno hanging kind of over Molineux, with some fans still feeling that he should still be there. And you can see why with the great memories he brought us, but he did run his course. He was, you know, I think there was a bit of issue as well, not getting home to see his family because of the coronavirus situation and stuff as well. And I think we've seen that with Spurs or having already been sacked. I think he's just someone that really needs a break from Premier League and probably from management for a bit. And Bruno Lage, completely different style of play. Looks to get the ball down, make, quick passes. To be honest, they're just very completely different in the way that they play football altogether. So I've enjoyed it. It's been very refreshing, I think.
Fair enough. Moving on to the game on Saturday between our respective clubs. In your opinion, who are the West Ham Dangermen?
I mean, at the moment, the whole squad, I think, at the moment. But, I mean, you've got to pick out the obvious, aren't you? Antonio. Pablo Fornells is an interesting one. Someone that when West Ham signed in, I thought, oh, my God, what a signing that is. And then it didn't quite work out for him, did it, in the first season? But he seems to have been that player that I think West Ham fans and a lot of Premier League fans were hoping to see when he certainly arrived in the Premier League. He's looking a danger man at the moment. And not to mention, obviously, you've also got Cresswell, who's playing brilliantly, and I felt should have been given an England call-up, to be honest, based on the way Luke Shaw has been playing for his club at the moment. But there's and you can't go amiss, can you, without Antonio? But to be honest, at the moment, I'm looking at the whole squad and I'm thinking any one of them could score, and every single one of them's a danger man when it comes to West Ham.
Yeah, and there's a bit of a whisper. There's certain rumours as we recalled this, and by the time this goes out, the rumours may have either been confirmed or completely quashed. I don't know, but there's a few whispers swirling around the internet at the moment, saying that there are certain doubts over the fitness of Declan Rice and that he may not be available for the game. I dare say that's probably going to give you guys a bit of a boost if that does come to pass.
I think it is, but I think honestly it's a game that West Ham can probably get away without him because, we've got Neves and Moutinho in the midfield battle. And I don't know, it's obviously great to have someone as good as Declan Rice, but those two don't really push that far forward. So I'm sure he'd use Declan Rice and, probably to try and suss out our wing forwards maybe and shove him out a little bit wider. But I think it's a game you could probably get away with it, to be honest. I'm more fearful of the danger men. And to be honest, it's been a complete joy to watch West Ham so far. I think there's always, when it's a team outside the typical big six, as I like to call it, I think it's always a bit of a joy just to when one of those other teams is doing well, providing it's not a local rival.
Yeah, it's very much a British thing, isn't it? We always root for the underdog, and West Ham are not one of the traditional Sky Sports Big Six, as I like to refer to them, and they've been sort of commonly tagged as, any team that can sort of come and break that monopoly up. Like, I know you're probably going to sort of like recoil when I mention the name of Leicester, but obviously they've been a team that in the last few years have bucked the trend and got in and around that sort of pack, and obviously we're doing it so far so good this season. You guys even had a little spell where you would flirt with the sort of like that part of the Premier League in the first couple of seasons after you got promoted. And like I say, it's a very British thing that we, if we see a team, an underdog, we really do sort of like, pull for them.
But you look at your team at the moment, and I don't know. I actually look at the team. There's definitely the starting 11. Where I fear for West Ham is what happens when as you say, when you've got a Declan Rice out, when you've got an Antonio out, who, at times he does have periods where he might get injured for a few games in each season. That's when the fear is going to come, because I'm wondering. But I don't. It's an interesting one. I honestly feel that you have a team that could challenge the top four now, and also a team that you'd look at and expect to at least get in the top 7. I really do. I think that, there's quite a few players that you could argue would get into those top 4 sides now, and I think it's been a long time coming, hasn't it, for West Ham, especially with the owners. They've been promising you this for a long time, and I think for you guys it's just great, but it's actually come to fruition at the moment.
Well, I mean, I look at the top 3 positions and I think, well, realistically they're pretty much sewn up. It's Manchester City, it's Liverpool, and it's Chelsea. Which order they actually finish in remains to be seen. But I think the top three, those three you have to kind of take to one side and say, okay, but fourth place, that really is up for grabs. I mean, you know, Manchester United, Arsenal and Tottenham, the other three members of the big six, are sort of like a very hit and miss, very up and down. And you don't look at any of those and go, well, you know, that one is going to be, you know, contending for that fourth place. You know, so this is where teams like ourselves, Leicester, and I mean, even you guys, I mean, I look at the table. I mean, you know, as we go into the game, you guys are sitting there in 8th place on 16 points. Now, should you get a positive result on Saturday, and obviously I you know, I'll load my cards on the table. I obviously hope you don't, and I hope you keep saying that. But if you got a positive result, you go on 19 points, so that you potentially, if results go right for you, you could be jumping up to 6th place.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one. That we could, I feel we could maybe push the top 7 if we get a bit of backing in January. But that remains to be seen. I think it's going to be a bit of a worry. I think goals are going to be a problem. I think defensively we probably are going to be quite strong, especially when we get Willy Bolly back playing a bit more football. But I think I'm a bit worried about where the goals are coming at the moment. But yeah, I think definitely. I think for West Ham, actually, I'd actually be more fearful in your case of Arsenal than I would Manchester United at the moment, because they've suddenly gone from everyone was having a joke at them at the start of the season, where, you know, they were sat in the relegation zone after 3 games, and they're going on a bit of a run, and I think they've gone a little bit under the radar, and I think everyone just before the international break was actually stopped and thought, oh, they're not a bad side when
they've snuck up the rails. They had that opening day defeat at Brentford, didn't they? And everyone was like, "Oh wow!" And I mean, as you say, they were a little bit derided, and people were questioning whether Arteta, you know, could he be in trouble? And as I look at the table now, they're sitting there in 5th. So yeah, they've snuck up a little bit, but long way to go this season. The next question is obviously, who do you think are the Wolves Dangermen? And I was. As you were sort of saying about strikers there, one guy that, and we was tentatively linked with him, but he's obviously now with you guys, Hwang Chan. Obviously, before you get onto the Wolves Dangermen, I mean, how's he been looking for you? I mean, I've heard some good things about him. He's possibly dropped off the boil a little bit of late, though. Is that right? I
mean, to be fair, of the Dangermen, he's definitely one I'd mention. I think it's just a new player that comes to the Premier League. He's perhaps a little bit inconsistent at the moment, but for sure he's a danger. And I think him and Jimenez could potentially partner up and have a really good, you know, especially in the later in the season when they've got that chemistry. I think it's really going to be something to watch. A player that we've had our eyes on for quite a long time. I think some of that partly to do with our owners, obviously being Chinese owners. I think they see the kind of pull that he has in that Asian market, and it's definitely something that they want to expand on. So I think they've been eyeing him up for a few years, to be honest. I think we were linked with him for the first time on the first season we actually came up to the Premier League, and we've now brought him in. 13 million with if we trigger the option to buy, I think that's an absolute no-brainer for me, to be honest.
Is there a sort of minimum amount of matches he has to play before that stipulation's triggered?
I don't think so. I think we can just activate it at any point.
Okay, fair enough. So, other than Hwang, who do you single out as the guys that you think can really do us some damage on Saturday?
I think I'd just leave it to one more person. That's Jimenez at the moment, because apart from that, that's what I mean about having problems in front of goal. I think it's going to, we potentially could see things dry up a little bit. We've got Trincao, who's been playing very impressive, but not quite getting that goal to his name. And also, Adama Traore hasn't been playing because of that as well. So it's a very interesting one, but I think the two main Dangermen at the moment are probably Hwang and Jimenez, and apart from that, we're looking a bit stretched when it comes to goals, I'll be honest.
How has he looked? Because obviously he had a really bad injury, Jimenez, and, you know, everybody was like, keeping their fingers crossed that he'd come back. Would he come back the same player? How has he looked to you?
He's looked, particularly the last 3 or 4 games, he's looked straight back to his best. When he first come back, I think, it took him a bit of time, but now we're seeing him being the player that he was straight from the start. He's starting to win balls when they're booted up to him. I think it's took him a bit of time to get used to his headpiece. There was a time about... there was one game where he actually took it off, and Bruno Lage said if he had more substitutes, he would have just pulled him straight off. But he's looked very decent, to be honest, especially the last 3 games. I think he's just coming straight back to the Jimenez that everyone remembers and before the injury. And I think it won't just be Wolves fans; it'll be other fans as well that will probably be happy that he's back to his best. And what an asset he's been to us.
Yeah, he's been a player that because you signed him in your first Premier League season. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but
yeah, we did.
He's been a guy that's
as well with an option to buy. We seem to like doing it that way.
Yeah, no, he's looked absolutely top draw. Whenever I've seen Wolves play and he's been leading the line, he's an absolute menace. He
is, yeah, definitely. He's a bit like he's a bit like what Antonio is to West Ham. You're a bit lost without him.
Yeah, he gives you that focal point, doesn't he? You always know if you can get the ball into him, he's going to cause problems, and you could be having a game where you're under the pump, but if you get the ball to him, he's going to occupy the centre backs. Yeah,
for sure, definitely, and that's it. I think he'll try and keep the West Ham defenders busy, and hopefully what you'll see then is, from a Wolves perspective anyway, is you'll have Hwang, and I think it'll probably we'll go with Trincao again over Adama Traore. They'll probably they're playing more as like inverted wingers and trying to get on the end of him, the balls that he's playing and holding up for them.
And you mentioned Adama Traore. I mean, he seems to have his end product, his impact on matches compared to the player that I remember seeing maybe 2-3 seasons ago. He seems to have had a little bit of a drop off in his performance levels. Would that be right to say?
Yeah, completely correct. I think he's become less dominant in terms of he still beats the players, but the problem is with Adama Traore, if he was actually if he could play football, he'd be the best player in the world, and that's the problem. He can sprint, he can dribble, but he's got no end product to him whatsoever. And you'd hope, I think when we signed him, Wolves, I think we'd hoped that in 2-3 years' time that maybe would have come together. I don't think we've really seen that. And behind the scenes, he's been throwing his dummy out the pram in a way with contract talks. He's not entertaining that. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see him moved on in January. And I think he'll probably go to one of the big boys, I think, possibly to play a role as an impact sub, because I think that's when he's been at his best. That's when he was at his best under Nuno. And I think that's potentially where he'd be at his best in general. When I suppose like a bigger team like a Liverpool, for instance, if you imagine facing them for 70 minutes and then you look across and they're bringing on Adama Traore for the last 20, you're probably at that point as a player thinking, "Oh God." So I think that's where I see him. What I see happening with him, whether that's in January or the summer.
How long's he got on his contract?
So he's got 18 months. So okay. I feel like we'll move him on at the latest in the summer. We definitely won't let him run his contract down, I don't think.
Fair enough. I know that Gonzo on Hammer's chat, and just to stay on Adama Traore just for just a couple of minutes longer. I know on Hammer's chat, Gonzo is someone that actually quite likes and rates Adama Traore, and yet his channel co-host Gio is like, "No, I don't get it." So, it's quite interesting. On the same channel, you've got two people with completely polar opposite views on the same player.
That's been us up to about now, actually, myself and James, who run the channel. I've always been backing him. I've always said there's something there. And I think like the more I've gone along, the more I've realised I think that's more hope of what a player he would be if he had an end product and the right attitude than it actually being factual.
Fair enough. And the last question, what are your hopes beyond Saturday's match? What are your hopes and expectations for the remainder of this season in all competitions?
I mean, it's an interesting one. I think you could line up probably about 25 different Wolves fans, and each one of them would be different. So don't take my perspective as the general Wolves consent. But for me, if we could finish in the top 12 in Bruno Lage's first season, start to have a bit of an identity. A cup run would be nice. Do I see it happening? No, not really. But if we can stay in the top 12, and a little bit of a cup run, I would be happy with that season. I think there will be other Wolves fans that really expecting us to challenge those European places. I don't think we've quite got the squad depth, and I think the other thing that I'd really like to see is to switch to that back four, which I know is what our manager wants to play, and start to get some more attacking players on, involved in the game, because that's something that we're not quite seeing enough of at the moment.
Do you think there's any chance he might pull a bit of a surprise on Saturday and he might go to a back four?
Against the Hammers at the moment, the way you guys are playing, I actually hope not. No, I actually hope not. I mean, as a score prediction, I hate to say it, but I can see it being like a 3-1 situation to you guys. I really can, which is testament to obviously the Hammers this year, but. Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough game for us. Not expecting too much at all.
Fair enough. Well, as I say, I would like to wish you the best of luck, Scott, but I'm sorry, but I can't. But all the same back. Yeah, absolutely. I know where you're coming from, but as far as beyond Saturday is concerned, I wish you guys all the very best for the rest of the season, and I hope that your hopes and aspirations are at the very least met.
Yeah, well, if I'm only aiming for the top 12, I think at least that won't be the case of it would be raining on West Ham's parade, because I'm sure you'll be much higher, to be fair. And yeah, I think for one of the non-big six, it'll be great if someone breaks that top four. And I think if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be West Ham this season, to be honest.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. Fingers crossed. Well, guys, don't forget to subscribe to Sweet and Sour Soccer on YouTube, and also give them a follow on both Twitter and on Instagram. The information on this banner will be in the description below on YouTube and Facebook, so please check that out. And before I wrap it up, don't forget, guys, to make sure to put this onto your social media platforms. This is regarding young Isla Caton, who's 7 years of age, suffering with neuroblastoma, whom she can't get the treatment in this country, and the family are obviously in need of assistance. And with just basically the day-to-day rigors of this situation. So this information again will be below the description on YouTube and Facebook, so you can copy and paste this and put this onto your social media platforms to keep the momentum behind this particular campaign. And if you're in a position to put any money in this particular fund, there is a Just Giving link there. Please give generously. No donation is too small. And as always, I thank you very much indeed for your attention. And please don't forget to like and share the stream to our YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and hit the bell icon for alerts on new content. And as always, thank you very much indeed for your support. And there's the little icon going across. I just like seeing that going across. So anyway, Scott, there we shall end it, and I thank you very much indeed for your participation, and until we reconvene on opposition outcome after the match on Saturday.
Yes, definitely
Brilliant.
We'll see.
Look forward to it, mate. And I'm going to do my usual sign out. And I apologise, but it is what it is, my friend. Come on, you are.